Hi, I'm EMTT35. And the night my son asked about the winter vacation I paid $25,000 for, but didn't go on, was the night I realized my family wasn't broken. It was built that way. Max had marinara on his cheek when he asked. That's what got me. The innocence of it. We were sitting on the floor with pizza on paper plates, a Lego tower swaying like a skyscraper with zoning issues, and he looked up at me and said, "Dad, when's the winter vacation? The one with the snow hotel." Grandma said we already went. He said we. My mother, bless her condescending little heart, had just dropped off cookies. She smiled at Max like he was a polite stranger and said, "We already went, honey. Only your aunt's kids this time." Only your aunt's kids. Max blinked. But Dad paid. I didn't move. Didn't react. I just felt this slow slide of disbelief, like I'd missed a step on the stairs and my brain was still midair. "We went when we could go," she added, shrugging like it was a weather report. "You're busy. You miss things." I said nothing. Max went back to his Lego. I nodded once. Right. Here's the thing you need to know about me. I track closings on a whiteboard. I can guess a listing price within $5,000 by looking at the block. I wipe fingerprints off door handles before a showing. I run lean, clean, and predictable. I became the stable one in a house that ran on chaos. It started with little things, Tessa's gas bill, my parents' leaky fridge, and snowballed into full financial CPR. I thought I was buying peace. Instead, I bought a one-man ride on the "We owe you nothing" express. But that night with Max changed the ledger. A month later, my mom texted, "Did you cover the mortgage yet?" And I finally replied, "Maybe your golden child can pay it." Blue bubble. Delivered. Read. I stared at it like it was a line I'd just drawn in permanent ink. Because it was. And then the storm came. Tessa called me dramatic. My mom called me ungrateful. My dad texted his usual, "Let's talk later." Which always meant, "Let your mother win." But something had changed. For the first time, I didn't want to win. I just wanted out. I started a folder. I called it the ledger. I pulled bank PDFs, screenshots of Venmo payments, invoices I'd paid, a $1,143 property tax bill, a $289 plumber invoice from the time my dad tried to fix the toilet himself and used paper towels instead of actual tools, and the Colorado Snow Hotel? $25,041. 73. My name on every receipt. They took the trip. They froze Max out. And still asked for more. So I planned my own little audit. Not in revenge. Not in rage. In clarity. It came to a head at family dinner. Max and I showed up with a bundt cake and half a heart. My mom poured wine for herself and water for me, classic, and my dad stirred Jared pasta sauce like it required precision. 20 minutes in, Mom looked up and said, "So, about the mortgage." Tessa didn't even glance at me. "And gymnastics. You said you'd help with activities instead of rent." It was choreographed. Practiced. Like I was a vending machine for guilt, and they were pressing buttons. But I didn't reach for my wallet. I reached for my phone. "I'd like you all to open this," I said. I airdropped the ledger to the table. Phones chimed. Screens lit. And for the first time in years, I let the silence hang. Tessa sneered. "You keep receipts like a landlord." "I'm a realtor," I said. "I keep records." My dad scrolled and put his phone down like it burned. And I laid it out. Calm. Factual. Final. "I've paid your mortgage for 13 months. I funded a family trip that my son wasn't invited on. I am no longer the bank. If you need help, ask. But the automatic pipeline is over. And if Max is ever excluded again from anything I pay for, I'm done." My mother went sharp. "You ungrateful, after everything we've done for you." "What have you done?" I asked. "Besides raise me and then treat me like your emergency fund?" Tessa called me selfish. My mom called me cruel. Max? He just watched. Quiet. Brave. Then he said, "I wanted to ride the sleigh." And that was it. I stood. Took Max's hand. Told them we were leaving. My mom said, "If you walk out, don't come back asking for forgiveness." I opened the door. "I'm not asking for anything." And we left. The first week felt like quitting sugar. Every time my phone buzzed, I'd brace for another emotional invoice. I muted the family chat. I blocked Tessa for 3 days, unblocked her, then blocked her again. I archived the folder but kept a backup on my desktop. Just in case. Max and I went sledding on a hill made of bad municipal planning. I bought him the biggest hot chocolate they sold at the gas station cafe. He slurped it like it was treasure. You mad at Grandma? He asked. I'm mad at her choices, I said. He nodded. I still love her. I know, I said. I love her too. I just love you more than any trip. More than the Snow Hotel? More than all the hotels. The storm came back in waves. My dad texted, Your mother is upset. Can we talk? I offered coffee. Neutral ground. He didn't show. Tessa posted on Instagram. Some people love money more than family. A few cousins chimed in. One wrote, That's not how we were raised. Another, You used to be so generous. I didn't reply. Because here's what people don't tell you about boundaries. They work even when they're silent. I started making calls. Removed myself from the mortgage as an authorized payer. Changed the autopay on Tessa's utilities. Locked my Zelle with a password. Removed my cards from everyone's ride-share accounts. The next group chat message was from my mom. We need $600 by Friday. I replied. No. Then I waited for the lightning. Nothing fell. Aunt Carla called to be the mediator. Said, Your mom is under so much stress. I asked, Did she tell you I paid for a $25,000 trip she went on without my son? Dead silence. Then, I didn't know all that. Now you do, I said. 2 weeks in, I took Max to an open house I was hosting. A cozy 3-bed with a breakfast nook, he declared. Where pancakes live. He built a Lego fire truck under the fake fern and said, Are we poor now? I knelt beside him. No, buddy. We're fine. We're just not paying for other people's stuff anymore. He nodded. Like that made sense. There were still flare-ups. Tessa sent a midnight text. You've ruined everything. The girls are crying. I typed. I didn't ruin anything. I stopped funding your lifestyle. The girls are crying because you're using them as shields. I didn't hit send. Then I did. And the next day? Nothing collapsed. Just a quiet I hadn't heard in years. It hit like a thunderclap on a Tuesday. Max and I were in the kitchen making something barely legal to call soup, frozen peas, leftover rotisserie chicken, the tail end of some alphabet pasta. He was stirring like a mad scientist when my phone buzzed again. It was Dad. Your mom told the bank you're sending the mortgage payment tomorrow. I stared at the message like it was written in Morse code. I didn't reply. I just walked to my laptop, opened the ledger, and started printing. One page after another slid out. My bank transfers. The Venmo receipts. The invoices. A printed copy of the Colorado Hotel confirmation, EMTT Family Suite, 6 guests, prepaid. I punched holes and clipped it all in a black binder. Labeled it, Receipts for Future Ambushes. Then I picked up Max from school, stopped for donuts, and told him we were going to dinner at Grandma's. His face fell. She mad? He asked. She might be, I said. But we're going anyway. You're not the problem. The house smelled like garlic bread and old tension. Mom greeted us with her usual. Take your shoes off. The carpet was just cleaned. Tessa was already there, phone in hand, twins running wild, Dad stirring sauce with the TV muted behind him. I set the binder on the kitchen island like it was a birthday cake. 20 minutes into dinner, the moment came. Emit, my mom said too casually. The bank expects that payment tomorrow. And Tessa needs help with the girls' gymnastics. You said you'd support activities instead of cash. My chest lit up like a bad bulb. I reached into my bag and pulled out my phone. I want you all to check your airdrop. Their phones dinged. I watched their faces shift. Line by line. Max kept eating like this was just background noise. Tessa scowled. This is insane. You keep records like you're suing us. I keep records like I'm done being stolen from. Mom's smile went cold. You're being dramatic. Nobody stole. You took a $25,000 vacation I paid for. You left my son behind. Then you came home and asked me to pay your mortgage. The table went still. Even the twins were quiet, their garlic bread forgotten. Dad put his phone down. We don't need to do this now. We do, I said. I looked at Max, who was pretending not to listen. Because he deserves to know the truth, too. Mom's voice turned weaponized sweet. We didn't exclude him. It just worked out that way. Max didn't look up. He scraped his peas into a tiny pile like they were tasks to complete. I said, "We're done. I'm not paying your mortgage. I'm not covering Tessa's bills. I'm not funding gymnastics, piano, soccer, or backyard hot tubs. If you need help, you can ask. But there will be no more assumptions." Tessa scoffed. "So you're punishing us for you being successful?" I turned to her. "You're being punished by reality. I just finally stopped shielding you from it." That's when Mom slammed her hand on the table. The fork jumped. "We raised you. And you raised her too," I said. Somehow I ended up being the adult. There was a long, brittle silence. And then Max, quiet little Max, looked at Grandma and said, "I wanted to ride the sleigh." Her mouth opened. Nothing came out. That was the moment. The crack in the wall. The line I'd been waiting years to draw. I stood. Max stood with me. "You can call the bank," I said. "And tell them your golden child can handle it." We left before dessert. I didn't look back. The fallout came fast. 3 days later, I got a voice memo from Tessa in the family chat. 3 full minutes. She hit all the notes: selfish, abandoning, overreacting. She used the phrase, weaponizing success, like it was some kind of war crime. My mom followed it up with a photo of Max in her kitchen from 2 years ago with the caption, "He used to love coming here." Emotional blackmail with a filter. I didn't respond. Instead, I pulled up my accounts and started making moves. First, I called the bank and had myself removed as an authorized user on my parents' mortgage. That one hit like a hammer. I could tell because Dad texted 20 minutes later. "Confused, can't log in." I didn't answer. Next, I turned off autopay for Tessa's phone and utility bills. I put a password lock on my Zelle. I revoked every shared ride account and deleted my debit card from Tessa's Amazon profile. Then I messaged the group. Any future requests for money must be made in writing with a specific amount, deadline, and repayment plan. If you send a vague guilt text, I will ignore it. My mother wrote back, "You're ridiculous." Then 5 minutes later, "We need $600 by Friday." I wrote one word. No. No follow-up. No justification. Just no. And nothing caught fire. The sky didn't fall. The bank didn't seize their house. The gymnastics team didn't crumble. The only thing that happened was quiet. Well, not total quiet. My aunt called, tried the classic maneuver, calm voice, loaded question. "Your mom is under so much pressure. She says she's heartbroken. Is there any way you can just help this once?" I asked. "Did she mention the $25,000 vacation she took without inviting my son?" Aunt Carla sputtered. "She may have left that part out. Then maybe she can leave the request out, too." Click. Around week 3, I took Max to another open house, a sweet little 3-bed with an awkward dining nook and a hallway that smelled like someone's old dog. Max stood in the kitchen, pointed at the weird corner cabinet, and said, "This is where the pancakes go." Between visitors, he built a Lego dragon on the staging rug. Then he looked up and said, "Dad, are we gonna be okay?" I sat beside him. "We already are." Later that night, as we ate cereal in front of a movie, he said, "Grandma says you're being mean." I looked at him and said, "Sometimes saying no looks mean. But it's actually how we stay safe." He nodded like it made sense. And it did. Because the absence of constant crisis? It was starting to feel like peace. Week 5 was when things shifted from chaos to strategy. Dad called, finally. Not a guilt text, not a voicemail, an actual call. He wanted coffee. Neutral ground. He showed up 10 minutes early wearing his "I'm reasonable" flannel and a face like someone who didn't know whether to apologize or ask for a loan. He sat across from me, ordered tea, and didn't touch it. "Your mother is scared," he said. "She says you're being cruel." "I'm tired," I said. "That's different." He tapped the table once with his knuckle. "We might have to sell the house." I nodded. "Okay." He blinked like I'd just agreed to blow it up. "We can't afford the mortgage without your help," he said carefully. "Not without Tessa contributing, Anne." "And she won't," I finished. "I know." I pulled a notepad from my bag and turned it to a blank page. "Let's run the numbers. For the first time in years, our conversation felt like two adults making a plan instead of one parent squeezing a child like a juice box. We talked equity, neighborhood comps, closing costs. I knew their house had staged and sold 4 nearly identical in the last year. If they listed in spring, they'd walk away with enough to buy a small ranch near the park, all cash. No mortgage. No stairs. Low maintenance. He nodded as we talked, not excited, not defeated, relieved. Like the permission to even consider this wasn't allowed before. When he left, he said, "I'll talk to your mother." I didn't hold my breath. Boundaries make people uncomfortable. Not just the people there for, but everyone used to the previous arrangement. That's when the smear campaign started. Mom went loud. She told our cousins I was unstable. Told the neighbor I was obsessed with money. Left voicemail messages with sniffles in them and the words, "After everything we've done for you." Tessa joined the chorus. She posted on social. Some people think cutting family off makes them evolved. It just makes them lonely. One of her friends commented, "Money changes people." Someone else replied, "Or exposes them." That one made me smile. Quietly. In my car. While Max and I ate drive-through burgers in the parking lot of a half-finished subdivision. I didn't respond to any of it. Because sometimes grace looks like silence. And sometimes silence is louder than any defense. But I also didn't let go of my clarity. I called the bank. Asked to confirm my name was fully removed from any liability. I changed the passwords on my Zelle and locked down my financial apps. I archived the chat thread with Tessa and created a new one called Logistics for Max. No emojis. No guilt. Just drop-off times, school events, and shoe sizes. They could scream. They could whine. They could post passive-aggressive memes all day. But they couldn't reach into my wallet anymore. And for the first time in my adult life, I didn't feel like an ATM with arms. I felt like a person. It took exactly 42 days for the silence to settle into something that felt like peace. Max and I had built a new routine. Friday nights became experimental dinner night, where we intentionally tried to cook something badly and still eat it. Burnt quesadillas, jelly rice, chicken that came out pink and went right back in. Max thought it was hilarious. He started keeping a scorecard. Anything above inedible but funny was a win. One evening, after a tragic attempt at a lasagna roll-up that looked like a crime scene, Max was rinsing dishes when he turned and said, "Dad, are we still in trouble with Grandma?" I leaned against the counter. "We're not in trouble. We just made a choice. We chose to protect ourselves." He nodded like he understood, but his little brow furrowed. "She said I'm a lot? Does that mean I don't get picked for things?" I froze. That was the moment I realized my mother hadn't just cost us a trip. She'd planted something in my kid. A doubt. A lie. I crouched down. "Max, look at me. You are everything. You're smart, kind, hilarious, and yeah, you have a lot of energy. That's called being alive. You didn't get left out because of who you are. You got left out because some grown-ups made a selfish choice." He blinked. "So it wasn't my fault? Not even 1%. He smiled slow. "Cool. Then next trip, we make our own hot chocolate tower. Double marshmallows," I said. He raised a brow. "Triple." The next day, Dad called. He'd picked a house. A single-story ranch, brick, with a little porch and a view of the street that reminded him of the neighborhood we grew up in, back before everyone started pretending everything was fine. He didn't even ask me to tour it with him. Just said, "I trust you to handle the closing stuff." That was his version of a hug. We listed their old house in May. I staged it myself. The chandelier Mom made Dad install in 2009, gaudy, gold, and always crooked, sparkled in the listing photos like it was proud to be leaving. It sold in 5 days. Mom didn't come to the signing. She signed remote and sent me a text that read, "You've destroyed my home." I didn't reply. Not because I was angry. Because I was done letting her version of events overwrite the truth. At the new place, Dad smiled more. Mom said little, but rearranged furniture 4 times in 2 weeks, which is her way of making peace with reality. Then came something I never expected. A message from Tessa. No preamble. No demands. "Not sure I'm doing this right. But I paid my own rent today." 5 minutes later. "Also, how do I know if a lawnmower is a good deal?" I stared at the screen and laughed, alone in my kitchen. Then I typed, "Check the blade width. And if it's under $250 and starts on the first pull, it's a keeper." Mom didn't change overnight. But she did change. Slowly. Imperfectly. One afternoon, she showed up to the park with brownies and a look that said, "I'm trying." We sat on a bench while Max and the twins built a crooked sand castle. She said without preface, "I shouldn't have said he was a lot." I said, "He heard you." She nodded. I was angry. About the house. About getting old. About being, I don't know, not needed anymore. Then she looked at me and added soft, "You've always been so capable. I thought you'd just keep stepping in." I didn't realize I was stepping on you. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't a speech. But it was real. I took a breath. "You can ask for help. But I might say no." She swallowed. "That's fair." We watched the kids bury Max's foot in the sand. I thought about every receipt. Every apology I'd given for simply holding a boundary. Every moment I tried to be the net under everyone else's fall. That night, after I dropped Max off, I opened the Colorado vacation folder for the last time. Not with rage. Just clarity. I archived it. Moved it out of my life like packing up a closet full of clothes that don't fit anymore. I kept one thing. A photo from our Spring Lake trip, Max holding up a fish the size of a butter knife, grinning like he just caught a sea monster. I printed it. Stuck it on the fridge. Right next to the magnet Mom gave me from the snow hotel she didn't take us to. That magnet doesn't hurt anymore. It just reminds me what I won't fund again. And what I will fight for. Always.